Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Cathy TYRO. And for those of you that don't know our story, Ron and I did 15 years in the prison system. Ron doing time on the inside, and the kids and I doing the time on the outside.
And while we were experiencing this life-changing event, we were able we were able to develop a curriculum called TYRO. TYRO is a Latin word which means apprentice, novice, someone learning something new, a warrior.
Now, when we say 15 years, that like rolls off our tongue like nothing, but 15 years is no joke. We went through a lot of struggles, we overcame a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges.
And we had to do a lot of growing up.
That's exactly right. So all the things that we learned along our journey, we put into the programs that we deliver, which are the TYRO Suite. And so our passion is to help you become leaders in your home, your community, and your workplace.
And so we guarantee you, just like Betty Crocker, right? When you get a box of Betty Crocker pancake mix, she guarantees you money back guaranteed, right? If you follow the recipe, just like she has laid it out for you, you will have pancakes that look like the picture on the box. But the moment you decide, I want to add more eggs or not enough eggs or you're a different amount of butter or whatever, the moment you change the recipe she laid out for you, all bets are what? Off. So like the TYRO program, if we apply these principles that we lay out in the TYRO curriculum, in the TYRO program, we guarantee you success. But guess what? Practice makes permanent. Not perfect.
Right.
So you got to be able to restructure the way you think, right?
And understand that you are building a legacy, that it's not just about you. Yes, your self-improvement is important. Your self-care is important, but it's very important because you have got your children coming behind you. And your job, Dad, is to make sure you are connecting with your kids and you're helping them navigate through life into a place of responsible adulthood.
So being a dad behind prison, you know, that's a hard job. I believe it's one of the hardest jobs any man can take upon himself inside penitentiary, being a father from behind prison walls. But you know what? It's doable and it's possible.
And so today we have a really cool topic for you. We're going to be talking about who does that.
Who does what?
Who does that?
Who does that?
Right, who does that? On your journey to self-improvement and overcoming your obstacles, you're going to have to do things and challenge yourself to do things differently than what you've done in the past, to think differently, to do things that are maybe a little bit, what would be the word?
Unusual, out of your comfort zone and all that type of stuff.
I'm going to use the word extraordinary.
That's right. That's a good word. That's a good word to use. So listen, stay tuned. You don't want to miss this episode because we're going to talk about who does that, right?
I'll tell you more about that and how it applies to you in your journey towards becoming a better dad. We'll be right back.
TYRO Dads will help you to see who you really are on the inside by coming to terms with your past, present, and future. You'll begin to move forward by using your time on the inside to transform yourself. We know you're not the only one serving time. Your family is too. Overcoming the issues that existed prior to and during incarceration are often more than what many families can survive. TYRO Dads has a unique method of reaching and healing families based on Ron and Catherine TYRO's own personal experiences. TYRO Dads works exclusively with incarcerated fathers who have minor children. The program lasts for 10 weeks and focuses on intensive character development. You'll be taught to take responsibility for your actions, to own it. You'll be prepared to overcome the obstacles of incarceration and transition back into your home and community, both successfully and permanently. Upon successful completion of this program, you will earn the title of TYRO, which means a warrior, someone learning something new. You will be one of the honored, a man worth following. If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or you want to know more, contact your local project facilitator or your institution staff.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Cathy TYRO.
Woo! And we got a show for you today.
That's right. And we are talking about who does that.
Who does that? Let's say it together, guys. Who does that? Right?
And probably you're thinking to yourself, yeah, who does do that?
Right?
And so the fact of the matter is, what we're talking about is who does things that are extraordinary, does things differently. In order to get a different outcome, you have got to begin to do things differently.
And this is really key, what Cathy just said. In order to get a different outcome in your life, you have to do something different, right? Something extraordinary, out of the norm. Get out of your comfort zone. If you ended up in prison, it's because your best thinking got you where? There. Right?
And the way that it often works is as you look at people, as you think back on your life and you're like, wow, I saw this person do something really crazy. And I ask myself, who does that, right? So probably if it was something that produced a positive result, that extraordinary effort and then something that they did is what caused them to be successful. So what we're talking about is changing your mindset away from the safety of, you know what, I know if I do this, I'm not going to draw attention to myself.
The comfort zone that I've been living in for the last 15, 20 years.
Right.
You know what? I'm comfortable. I don't want to get off the couch. I like the way I look. Right?
I like the way you look too,
well, thank you,
baby. So when we talk about who does that, we're talking about people that maybe are drawing attention to themselves, but in a positive way. And so we're gonna use a couple of examples on maybe even negative things. Like, okay, well, who does that?
You know, what I want to do, Cathy, is let's look at both sides of the coin. We got the negative side and the positive side. So let's take a few examples of maybe what it looks like of the negative side.
Right.
And then I think we can even label that, right?
Okay.
So let's say you're in prison, guys, right? And Dad, you're there in prison, and let's say you got 4 kids at home, and your mom and your lady's on welfare, and she's barely making it, but she happens to scrap the pennies up, get them together, and she comes to visit you, and you hit her with the big one. You know what? I want you to give me a clothes box, and in that clothes box, I want you to get me the newest Nikes that are around.
Yeah, so I need you to send me $100 to buy these really cool shoes so that I can have the coolest shoes in my pod.
You know, who does that?
Yeah.
Lame.
Right.
That's who does that, right? You know what? I was guilty of that, right? I remember
you were.
Yeah, I was. You know what? And this is really what's crazy about it. Before I went to prison, I never had a pair of Nikes.
Right.
Right? I shopped at Walmart. Well, that wasn't even really Walmart there. It was Kmart.
Bargain City.
Bargain City. You know,
Yeah.
I was cool with my Converse or whatever name brand or generic brand.
Yeah.
It was available, but then I go saying, you know what, I want to be like everybody else. So Cathy's poor, she's struggling, raising the kids, raising the boys, and then boom, I come, hey, I need some Nikes. Who does that?
Oh yeah.
A
I think
lame.
we'll all start checking the garage sales, all right?
Right?
baby? Right. So who does that? Well, but what we're talking about is who does that. When you see somebody, you know, rush to somebody's defense, like, wow, who does that? When you see somebody give up their food to help somebody else that maybe doesn't have enough food, wow, who does that?
Or how about the guys who maybe they got a beautiful food box and they make a break, but they know a guy down the aisle who's never got a food box the entire time he's been doing his time. So he says, hey man, I got a little bit of extra food here. You want to join me? Who does that?
Okay, or even let's take it to where we really need to take it. The guy who would be completely ridiculous and completely silly for his child, right?
That's what I'm
for
talking
his
about.
child's
Yeah.
sake. And that means like playing ballerina, Dad, in the public pool with your little 4-year-old daughter. Who wants you
Or
to
how
do-
about when you got your grandkids and or your daughter or any of your kids and you're in the parking lot and you get out of the car and you say, okay, we're gonna from here to the entranceway, we're gonna skip.
Right. Who
Right?
does that?
Who does
right?
that?
Right? Who does all the crazy things to be able to connect with their kids? Who does that? A great dad, a TYRO dad. And so what we're really talking about is taking risks in order to get the gain of your children's trust, your children's love, their admiration, their respect. And that doesn't mean demanding it. It means going above and beyond. Something that we do that my daughter's always like, that her friends like, who does that, right? So we show up at her games and we are like cheering the loudest of anybody else. Ron has this whole clap thing. Right. So that's his, like, he says, this is my whole gate cheer. So he's clapping the whole time to get the team. And now they're starting to echo it.
But the team's echoing it, but I still have trouble getting the other dads
Right, the other parents.
to get engaged in cheering with the kids, right? And cheering them on because you know what? You know, I don't want nobody to look at me.
Right, I
you
don't wanna
know.
draw attention to
I don't want
me.
to draw attention.
Right.
I'm here, I'm a spectator. Don't be a spectator, Dad.
Right.
Who does that? A father who's engaged in the well-being and in the enjoyment of watching their children laugh and really come free because kids want to play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who does that? Who opens the car door for his wife, you know, when you come in from the grocery store?
A TYRO.
A TYRO does.
That's right.
You know?
A man worth following, right? So when we think about who does that, what we're talking about, because we're going to talk about why it's important, and then we're going to literally tell you how to do it, how to be that person that people look at and say, wow, who does that? I feel challenged, right? So that's what we're talking about.
That's exactly
is
it.
challenging people around you to get outside of their comfort zone, to go out of the normal day-to-day routine, get out of the rut, do something different that impacts people around them in a positive way.
Because you will receive the outcome, just called the return of investment, that you really are desiring. Respect, honor, right? Somebody cheering you on, and somebody coming up to you and saying, you know what, thank you. You've impacted my life by the way you cheered for me. right?
So let me give you another example of a who does that moment. So for 15 years, we're visiting Ron in prison, right? And so we'd wait and wait, and Ron would finally come out the door. And I remember the times there were just a handful of them. And it totally was like, wow, who does that? When Ron would come out, and he would come over and he'd be like, rah, right? He'd pick up the kids and be all silly, just for like 5 seconds. And it like lifted the mood because everybody else was just kind of sauntering over to their table. Hey, you know, give a hug and a normal greeting. But we got this like extraordinary greeting, and it changed our experience. Who does that? A father that really wants to create a moment and an experience for his children. So we got to take a short break.
Okay.
But when we come back,
We're going to talk about why it's important, Dad, to be that person on who does that, right? To be that TYRO, to be that father. When they say, who does that? They say, this TYRO man does it. This TYRO dad does it. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Playing catch, basketball, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. These are all normal things on the outside, but many times are missed in a visitation setting. TYRO Dads brings the same fun experience to the inside through family days. As a TYRO Dad, you have the opportunity to participate in this fantastic event. Family Day is designed to allow fathers and families to engage with each other through activities designed to stimulate communication, learning, and play. Family Days will not only be a highlight for you, but for your children as well. The Ridge Project has strategically developed Family Day as an opportunity to help you connect with your child throughout your separation and help both of you develop skills to continue building your relationship when you return home.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
and I'm Cathy TYRO.
And we are having a great time today talking about who does that.
Woo! Right. Who does that?
Like, you know, I'm going to say, who do that? You know, who do that?
That's exactly right. That's what Ron was saying. Who do that?
Who do that?
And I'm like, no, it's who does that?
Who does
right?
that?
Who does that? And so we want to be the people that they think about when they say, wow, wow, who does that? Not, wow, who does that?
Right. And so, you know what, another negative one would be, you know, real quick before we get into the why, you know, you're at the dinner table and you got your kids there around you and you're there to be engaged, but guess what? You pick up the cell phone and you're more engaged in the food or in the phone than you are your family.
Right.
Right? Who does that? Right?
Right.
So
a lame or a dad that's preoccupied, a dad that's forgotten his focus needs to be on his kids.
Yep.
And so now that's exactly what we're talking about. Why is this important? It is so important to live your life modeling examples of being able to stand up for what you believe in and take positive risks in order to connect with the people you care about.
who does that? This is really an eye-opener for me because I want to be known as the dad who will take the risk, who will protect not only my daughter, but I'll protect all her friends, right? Because this is a crazy world out there, right? And so when my daughter, I want her to grow up to become a strong, virtuous lady, right?
And independent and courageous,
You
right?
know, so who does that? So I'm the guy, I'm gonna show up to pick her up, I'm gonna celebrate her games, I'm not leaving. I'm the guy who does that. Who, you know what, when I know, just recently, and I've never done this before, I closed a county fair.
Yeah, we did.
We closed the county
Yep.
fair. I'm like, why am I still here? Because my daughter and her friends are there, and I'm gonna be the one, we're gonna be the ones, we're taking them home because,
And so we have
right?
other parents say to us, well, just drop them off. Like, who does that? Who stays at the fair the whole time when their kids are there? And so Ron's like, you know what? I do that. I do that because you never know what might happen and if they need me. Now, we don't walk around with them. It's like they're old enough, go have fun.
and we
We'll
go do our
reconnect.
thing,
Right.
right?
But we are literally a text, we're 5 minutes away, not 30. And so
Am
who
I a
does
paranoid
that?
dad? Maybe. Right?
Not paranoid, I use the other P word, protective.
Oh, protective dad, there it is.
And that's what you ought to be, not
Yeah.
overprotective, but protective. Being available when you need to be available. So who does that? You do that, TYRO dad. You make sure that you're the one that stands out in the crowd of, wow, that's my dad. And that can be by just showing up all the time.
You know, I learned this when I went to prison. because I was not on security when I was home. This
No.
before I didn't have no understanding about me being the protector of my wife and 2 boys, the provider, all these things.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
right.
put you out there. Can I put you out
Put
there?
me out there,
I'm gonna
baby.
put you out there. Okay. So like here's an example of a negative, like, oh my gosh, you kidding me? Who does that? So I am 7.5 months pregnant, and we go up on this trail in this mountain. And so Ron says, I call shotgun, jumps in the front of the pickup truck, and tells me to get in the back, the bed of the pickup
Come on,
truck.
who does
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, man.
And so everybody was like,
I don't
standing
remember
there.
this.
I remember.
I'm pleading that I don't remember this.
This is a true story. There were a lot of other people that were in the bed of the pickup because that's like how you went up the mountain. And so the driver of the pickup truck happened to be my grandfather, and he says, oh, heck no.
Oh, man.
Who does that, right? He puts a pregnant woman in the back of the pickup.
I remember now. It's coming back to me. We had just arrived there.
All right. So that negative of who does that, now that's not who Ron is anymore. The why is so important because you are establishing your reputation, gentlemen. You don't want people to say, wow, who does that about you? You want people to say, wow. Who does that nowadays? Who walks with honor like that? Who is that honest? Who is that trustworthy?
Yep. Who can it be said that they can take you at your word at any time? Everything comes out of your mouth. Nothing is suspect anymore. Who does that? Who goes the extra mile to make sure that they can be taken at everything they say as solid gold? It's solid, man. And you know how valuable your word is when you're in there. So, Dad, who does that? When you're in the institution and you borrow something from somebody, you go the extra mile to make sure you pay that debt off. Who does that? Because on the streets, those things you're practicing on in there, when you're in a cell with the one guy, right? And you go the extra mile to make sure the cell's clean. Because you got to take those principles you're learning when you're home with your lady, right?
And your children.
And your children, you're home. Who does that? Because it's something you've been practicing inside there because you weren't doing it before you went in.
Because practice makes what?
Permanent.
That's right.
Right?
So as we go through life and we do those, we take advantage of those who does that moments, we're establishing a new path, a path of honor and integrity and righteousness and truth, a path that our children can proudly follow behind us on.
And copy what you're doing. Because they're watching it and they're learning and they're going to mimic what you're doing, Dad, regardless what you could tell your kid all day long, do what I say, don't do what I do. It ain't gonna work. They're gonna do what you do.
It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter what your reputation is today. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. Today is an opportunity to flip that who does that to the positive side. And the why is huge because the why is your legacy and your children's future.
So listen, we're gonna come back with the how to do these, how to engage it, how to make this stuff applicable. So when people are saying, wow, who does that? It's in a positive light and it's in a celebratory fashion. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. We're going to be right back.
Dear son, it's been hard these last few years watching you grow up without me in the picture. Never taking the time to find out how you were or what was going on in your life. You're just a boy, I thought. You don't need me. I didn't need my dad. He was never around, I told myself. But I was wrong, son. I'm supposed to be a grown man. I was selfish. I was stupid. I was thinking of me, not you. If I could go back, son, and change things, I would. It's taken me all this time being selfish to finally grow up and realize I need to be a responsible man. That's what I finally learned, not from prison, but the TYRO program. It's all about becoming a better, stronger man. Wish I would have gotten it sooner. Everything looks different to me now. I'm a changed person. I know I need to be there for you now. It's not about me anymore. It's not about being cool. It's not about who I run with. It's about Mom. It's about you. It's about being a better man, learning something new in my life. It's about being a TYRO, a man worth following. I'm your dad. You're my son, and I love you. I am a TYRO. I'm a TYRO. Dad.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. Woo, let me just go TYRO TV.
I'm Cathy TYRO.
And I'm Ron TYRO.
And we are today talking about who does that. Like that. Like who does that?
Who does that? Boom, pectoral action, baby.
Yeah, TYRO does that, right? So now we've talked a little bit about what do we mean when we say who does that, and then we talked about why it's so important to be that person that people look at and say, wow, who does that? And now we're going to talk to you about how to actually practically implement this.
You know, and we want you to move forward in a way. You might stumble as you're moving forward. You might think, you know what are people going to say? You might think, you know what, this is crazy. I look silly doing it. You know what, I'm not going to cheer for my kid in the stands because no one else is cheering for their kids. And everybody's going to look at me and I'm going to be embarrassed. And,
Right.
you know, I'm going to embarrass my little girl or I'm going to embarrass my son or daughter out there. I'm not going to be the one.
Right. Okay, so speaking of that, I'm going to use another example. So we have a friend, and his son plays football, and the stadium is packed, and his son never hears him cheering, and it's really important to this dad. He says, you know, he's a TYRO dad. He says, I want my son to know I'm in the stand. I want him to know that's my dad. And he says, so what did I do? He bought a cowbell. And so whenever his son does a good play, he rings that cowbell like crazy, right? And his son knows that's my dad. My dad is in the stand and he's cheering for me. Now people around him are like, wow, that man brought a cowbell to a football game? Who does that? But his son's like, wow, who does that?
That's
to make
right.
sure that their son knows that their dad is proud of them. Now the how is finding those little ways like the cowbell that you can stand up to make sure that your children know that you are rooting for them, that your children know that you are going to stand up and you're going to stand up for what you believe in, and you're going to do it in a righteous way.
Now, the TYRO dad that Cathy's describing, yes, he's in the sidelines, but there's action, there's movement, there's life while dad is on the sidelines rooting his child to move forward in life. So TYRO dad, how do you do this? No matter where you're at, you're active, you're moving forward. Whether you're gonna write a letter, who does that? Who writes a letter to their kid every day? You do, dad.
Right.
Who does that? Who sends a card once a month from prison walls? You do. Who does that? Not expecting.
Who takes
right?
some of their state pay and sends home
Oh,
$2,
my
$3, $4, $5? And who does that, right? You only have 18 or whatever it is now that you live off each month. Who does a man that's saying, you know what, let me contribute even a little bit, even if that just pays for one phone call. Let me do that.
Now, when I worked at OPI, who does that? I made about $60 to $80 a month.
Right.
I was able to send home $20, $25 a month. Now, you know, back then gas was a little bit cheaper, but I knew at least it would put half a tank of gas in Cathy's car.
No, it would fill up my tank
Okay, it would
and
fill it
get
up.
me to a visit.
And I was, you know what, who does that? Because was it hard for me to let go? Absolutely, because I knew I needed a case of ramen noodle soups.
So the how. Really looking around you and finding opportunities to make sure that you are conveying the right message to your children. Like the cowbell, maybe it's when you're sitting in a visit, maybe every visit that you create a new craft out of the napkin, or maybe every visit that you figure out a new game to play, or you figure out a key word that your kids, it's just like a code between you and your kids that says, yeah, you know what, I love you too. And instead of saying I love you, we're gonna say, you know what, I connect with you, or whatever it is. Finding something that is unique, that's like, wow, dad took the time to go above and beyond and into the extraordinary, out of the mundane and ordinary, in order to make sure that we connected.
And that's really, really vital. Who does that? Because the mundane of a visit and everything that's happening in your life, Dad, right there while you're in prison, TYRO, come on now. You know every day's the same old, same old, same old. But life on the streets is moving and evolving and growing. But you got to figure out a way how to take your imagination. You know what? I'm going to connect with my kids. I'm going to write them the letters. I'm going to send them a picture. I'm going to make them something. I'm going to make it not ordinary, but extraordinary, because I'm going to push forward. I'm going to set the stage here.
And I'm not
right?
going to worry about what people around me say or think.
That's right.
My main concern is making sure that I am, one, doing the right thing, and two, making sure I'm connecting with my kids and reinforcing the right thing in their life.
You know what? One other thing, who does that? You know, we talk about how to do this. You know what, Dad? You have to celebrate mom, the children's mother. Man, who does that? Even if you're divorced, even if you're not talking, whatever you do, everything out of your mouth that comes out about those mother's kids is positive. Who does that? A TYRO does. Those kids' mother. Yeah. Yeah, those kids' mother. You celebrate her because she's doing the best she can, raising those kids while you're incarcerated. So who does that? A TYRO man does that. Right?
And how the hows are simple, but not necessarily easy. So the simple things and figuring out ways to connect, figuring out ways to stand out for your kids, stand up for things that are right. There are all kinds of opportunities, even inside the gates. Because as you begin to practice those things inside there, it will become easier as you transition out into a much broader community where you've got way more criticism going on, and that you are faced with living underneath a microscope as you re-enter society. Oh, there's that ex-felon. Well, since you've already been practicing those positive things, you've already learned how to stand out in a positive way, those will transfer into you learning to be a community leader as you come home.
And that is so vital, because in order to transition from there to society and become successful, you got to begin right there practicing these key principles on who does that. A man of honor, a man of good character, a man worth following, a TYRO.
So when we come back, we're going to give you 3 tools, 3 tips, 3 things to help you really become somebody that the world looks at and says, wow, who does that? So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
TYRO Dads will help you to see who you really are on the inside by coming to terms with your past, present, and future. You'll begin to move forward by using your time on the inside to transform yourself. We know you're not the only one serving time. Your family is too. Overcoming the issues that existed prior to and during incarceration are often more than what many families can survive. TYRO Dads has a unique method of reaching and healing families based on Ron and Catherine TYRO's own personal experiences. TYRO Dads works exclusively with incarcerated fathers who have minor children. The program lasts for 10 weeks and focuses on intensive character development. You'll be taught to take responsibility for your actions. To own it, you'll be prepared to overcome the obstacles of incarceration and transition back into your home and community, both successfully and permanently. Upon successful completion of this program, you will earn the title of TYRO, which means a warrior, someone learning something new. You will be one of the honored, a man worth following. If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO, or you want to know more, contact your local project facilitator or your institution staff.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Cathy TYRO. And today we're talking about
who does that? Oh, man.
Okay, stop that. Who
I
does
love it.
that?
Who does what?
Who does that?
Who does that?
Yeah, okay, Ron
Right.
does that.
I do that. You do that. We all do
that. So we've been having a good time really sharing with you how important it is to be a person that stands out, and also an outstanding person. Because if you're just a person that stands out without the outstanding part, then you're still living in Lamesville. So we want to give you some practical tips, things that you can do and practice and think about in order to be that outstanding person who also stands out.
You know, so the first thing we want to talk about is be consistent. You know, this is really, really crucial. Your children are looking for steadiness. They're looking for somebody who isn't a flip-flopper, who is consistent in what he is not only saying, but doing.
That's
right?
very good. The second one is be courageous. Because if you're consistent, but you're consistent in being afraid of doing something, then that's not going to work. So you've got to put courage with that consistency. Because it takes a lot of courage. I don't care who you are or what you've done in the past. It takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up, to do the right thing, and not think about what other people are saying, what other people might do.
You know, I want to give an example of that. Just recently, we were at a county fair, and our grandson, they wanted to do the bungee trampoline jumping. And so I said, okay, Dawson, you know, this is like $6 a ride, right? So I said, we're going to do it, but you get up there, I need to see you do a flip. Okay, Grandpa, I'll do a flip. And so he got up there and he was scared. And there's another little boy and he's doing double flips, right? And so Dawson is jumping as high as he can. I'm saying, flip, Dawson. He said, no.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. I said, yes, you can do this. And so finally, the ride is over. He never did it. And he said, Grandpa, you give me another ride. I know I can do it.
Give me another chance.
Give me another chance and I'll do it. I said, well, I don't know, Dawson. That'd be $12 invested in this, right? He said, Dawson, Grandpa, I know I can do it. Just give me another chance. So time went on. I said, all right, come on back. Finally, he did it. He got up there and he started flipping. He had a breakthrough in his
Right.
life. And I asked him, what changed? What changed? Because before that, he
The
said,
environment didn't change.
Yeah.
Nothing else changed.
he was embarrassed, the
Right.
first part. He was embarrassed and he was scared because everybody's watching,
He was
right?
afraid he would fail, right?
Right.
So he says, what changed was I found the courage.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
I found the courage. And it was awesome to hear him say that.
Yeah. So the third tip is celebrate. Now, celebrate, we mean that on numerous levels. First of all, celebrate your own successes. So when you do something, you step out of your comfort zone and you become a leader and you make a positive influence on people by being extraordinary, celebrate that success. And secondly, celebrate when you see other people that are striving towards achievement. Celebrate them. Go out of your way.
We talk about high-fiving people. We're talking about going up to them and saying, man, congratulations. I see you finally got 10 push-ups in.
Yeah.
Or I see you started doing push-aways. Or I see you started reading. Or I see you started learning how to write. Whatever it is, celebrate others. Who does that? A TYRO man
That's right.
celebrates others.
So be consistent, courageous, and celebrate others. Those are our 3 tips for you today. We want to thank you for allowing us to be part of your journey towards becoming a better dad.
You know what? This has been a great episode for us on Who Does That? So until next time, always remember, we are rooting for you.